Hi everybody, my name is Derek Maines. I'm the founder of AMP, and this is Dr. Cindy Lauren, also our Chief Training Officer. I want to welcome you today. We're going to be actually having a little casual conversation to talk about some of the concepts behind AMP and why it's important. Now, if you're watching this, you haven't yet gone through all of the content, so we think it's important that we set some things up so that you understand why our content is developed the way it is, and we'll go from there. So first off, what we want to do is we want to have a casual conversation about something that we do talk about in boot camp, and that is this Gallup study. So the Gallup study every year talks about the level of employee engagement, and something that Cindy has done a lot of work in employee engagement and written about in her books. The Gallup study is interesting because what they essentially find out every year when they do this study is that about 30% of employees are engaged at work. 15% are actively sabotaging their work, and the rest, this 55% of people, they show up for work, they clock in, and pretty much there is no brainwave indication throughout the entire day. They just perform the tasks, perform the duties, but they never actually accomplish anything. They really aren't moving the company forward in any way. And that's really problematic, right? Because your current growth of your organization is really dependent upon that 30%. And all of the future potential of your company is locked up in these zombies. These people that are the undead, they're out there, they're not really accomplishing anything. They're just there. They are bodies that are filling up space. They're not really accomplishing anything. We call them zombies or the undead because they show up for work, they clock in, all indications of life cease until about 11:45 when somebody says, "What's going on for lunch?" Then they're like, "Oh, well, that's right." But they're not born that way, right? We made them that way. And I think the biggest indicator to me when I go into a company and I'm going around and I'm doing interviews of employees, when I ask somebody and I say, "Hey, Kendall, what did you do at work yesterday?" And they freeze and they can't name anything that they accomplished. And it's like, wow, wait a second, 8 hours of your life and you don't remember anything? But I'm like, "What'd you do for lunch?" "Oh, we went to Chipotle." Well, okay, it's just not happening. And I think you said this for a long time, it's not like we hired them that way.
Right. We look at people's track record, we see what decisions they've made in the past and the abilities that they have, but then something happens.
Exactly. Well, and I think, the problem with these zombies is our current performance of our company is really in this 30% of the people that are engaged. All of the future performance of our organization is tied up right there in those people. If we could just figure out how to get them to do something, anything, we would have much more success, right? We could grow our margin, we could grow our revenue, we could do all those kind of things. The problem is I think we've existed for a long time, and this Gallup study's been out for 20 years. Every year they do it over and over and over. The numbers never really change all that much. But the thing that concerns me the most about it isn't that the zombies exist, it's what zombies eat. I mean, think about it. If we watch The Walking Dead, if we watch any, pop culture, zombies eat brains. So where are they going to get the brain? Well, they're not going to get them from the dead people. They're going to consume them from your engaged people. So those zombies on a daily basis are consuming all of that sort of capacity of that resource. And over time, we've all probably been in those situations where you work in a company and you get there and you're like, "This is exciting, I'm really fired up." And then you start to see how everybody else around you works and you're like, "Well, I'll just become the mean of those people, right? I'll just average out to the average performance of the organization." And regardless of how motivated you are, that's disheartening. When you look around and you're like, "She does absolutely nothing here. And all he does is block us from accomplishing anything, and I'm getting paid the same wage." Well, I'm not going to do that. I mean, we've all probably been there, or we know somebody that's been there. So we've got to figure out ways to engage them, right? Humans aren't actively disengaged about sports. They're not about the Kardashians. So why does it just seem when it's about work? And we've probably had those people we work with where it's like they're totally brain dead, and then you're like, "Did you see what Khloe Kardashian?" And they're like, "Oh my God," and they can go on forever about that. Or, "Hey, how did the Patriots do this weekend?" And they can talk times and stats, and they have a whole opinion on the whole thing. So we've got to figure out ways to keep that engaged group excited, but also figure out how to awaken those zombies while at the same time letting the dead bury the dead, right? Getting them out of the organization and recognizing that if they're actively sabotaging the organization, they are not contributing anything to your bottom line. All they're doing is taking away from it.